Right around the time summer shows up, so do the bugs. Ants along the baseboards, little flies hovering over the fruit bowl, something that looks like a weevil in the flour you bought 2 weeks ago. Whatever was living under the back porch that apparently decided your kitchen looks better. Most people's first move is to go buy something. A spray, a trap, a little plug-in thing that's supposed to emit a frequency bugs don't like. I don't know who's buying those, but somebody is. And the companies that make all of it are doing just fine. Here's what I want to tell you. You've already got most of what you need. 7 things sitting in your kitchen right now. I've used all of them. They're not fancy, they don't smell like a laboratory, and they cost almost nothing, which is the part the pest control aisle would rather you not think too hard about. We're going to go through all 7. We'll start with the ones that are more about keeping bugs out and work toward the ones that actually finish the job on contact. Because knowing which is which matters. You don't reach for the same tool when you're trying to stop a scout ant from marking your kitchen as open for business, as you do when you've already got a full trail marching across your counter. Number 7, bay leaves. Open your spice drawer and look for the bay leaves. If you've got them, you've got a pantry guard you didn't know you were carrying. Summer is when pantry bugs wake up. Weevils, flour beetles, those tiny soft things that appear inside a bag of rice you'd swear you just bought, they all get more active when it gets warm. And what keeps them out of your dry goods is that bay leaves carry a strong natural oil that those bugs flat out hate the smell of. It's not harmful to anything bigger than an insect. It doesn't flavor your rice or your flour, the scent doesn't transfer, which is the thing most people worry about. It just sits there being unpleasant to anything small enough to want to move into your pantry. Drop a couple dry bay leaves inside your flour canister. Lay one flat in your rice container. Set a few loose on the pantry shelf itself, especially near any bags you haven't sealed tight yet. That's all there is to it. What it won't do, I'll be plain about this because I always am, is rescue you if bugs are already in there. If you pull the lid off the flour and something moves, the bay leaf can't help you now. Throw out what's infested, wipe the shelf down with white vinegar, let it dry, and start over. Fresh bay leaves from there. But as a thing you just leave in place all summer so the problem never starts, it works. I've done it for years. Replace them every few months. A dried out bay leaf that's been sitting since last October isn't doing much for you anymore. When you can barely smell them, they can barely smell them either. Number 6, cinnamon. Ants work by leaving invisible trails. When one ant finds food in your kitchen, it doesn't just eat and leave. It marks a path back to where it came from, and every ant that follows that path makes it stronger. By the time you see a line of ants on your counter, that trail has already been reinforced 100 times over. Cinnamon disrupts those trails. The smell is so strong to them, it scrambles whatever signal they're following. They lose the path. They stop coming. Sprinkle a thin line of ground cinnamon along windowsills, along the base of the door frame that faces outside, along any crack or seam where you've seen them enter before. You're not trying to bury them in it, just a light line, enough that any ant that approaches it gets confused and turns around. I'll tell you what it won't do. It won't kill the colony. If there are 10,000 ants in a nest under your yard, cinnamon in your windowsill isn't touching them. What it does is hold the door closed on your end. They can't find the trail into your house, so they stop looking and find somewhere else. Reapply after you wash the floor or wipe the sills down. Once it's swept away, it stops working. And it genuinely does smell nice, so there's nothing to complain about. Number 5, white vinegar. This one does double duty, and I think that's why it's worth spending a minute on. First, use ants. Same idea as cinnamon, except vinegar actually cleans the trail off the surface rather than just covering the scent. When ants find their way in and you haven't figured out where yet, wipe your counters and baseboards down with a half and half mix of white vinegar and water. You're erasing the invisible roadmap they drew on your surfaces. Spray a little along the outside of your door frames, along your windowsills, anywhere they've been patrolling. The second use is for fruit flies, and this is where vinegar goes from repellent to trap. Fruit flies are drawn to the smell of something fermenting. Overripe fruit, the drain, a sticky residue in the bottom of your trash can, white vinegar, and especially apple cider vinegar, smells exactly like what they're looking for. So, you set a trap. Small jar, a little vinegar in the bottom, 2 or 3 drops of dish soap, and you either leave it open or cover it loosely with plastic wrap and poke a few small holes. They go in after the smell, and the soap breaks the surface of the liquid so they can't get back out. You'll find them in there the next morning. I keep one of these going on the counter from June through September. It's not glamorous. It works. One honest word about vinegar on bugs directly. It will stop ants you spray it on. As a perimeter wipe down, it disrupts them. It's not going to solve a serious infestation on its own. If they're coming from a nest that's already established, you need something more than a surface wipe. But as a first line of defense, as a way to clean up their trails and make your kitchen a less readable map, use it. A gallon of white vinegar is $1 and change, and it's doing the work of about 4 different products on the pest control shelf. By the way, methods like this, I've got a whole book of them. Every trick I use to run this house for less, written down in one place. It's on my website, the link's right below the video. Go grab it, I won't mention it again. Number 4, salt. Salt works on some bugs better than others, and I want to be straight with you about that, because there's a version of this going around online that oversells it. For slugs or any soft-bodied creature that makes its way into your kitchen from outside, salt is devastating. The reason is simple. Salt pulls water out of whatever it touches. On a soft-bodied insect with no hard shell to protect it, contact with salt means it loses moisture so fast it can't survive. If a slug gets into your kitchen, and they do, especially in a wet summer, a line of salt along the door threshold is a genuine barrier. They won't cross it. For fleas, sprinkle regular table salt into carpet fibers. Work it in a little and let it sit overnight before vacuuming. It dehydrates the fleas and their eggs at the surface level. Ants are a different matter. They've got a hard shell on the outside, and it protects them better. Salt is more of a deterrent for ants than a killer. They tend to avoid heavily salted areas, which can be useful, but it won't wipe out a trail or touch a colony. For ants, salt is the last resort after you've run out of the other things on this list. A saltwater spray, just dissolve a few tablespoons in a spray bottle of water, can be used to wipe down surfaces in areas where you've had problems. It won't harm your countertops the way it might damage natural stone or wood over time, so be mindful of the surface. But on tile or sealed counters, it's fine. Number 3, dish soap. Plain dish soap, the bottle next to your sink. Insects have a waxy coating on the outside of their bodies. That coating is the only thing standing between them and drying out completely. It seals in moisture. Dish soap dissolves it. Once that coating is gone, a small insect has no protection. It loses moisture rapidly and it dies. That's why a spray bottle of water with just a few drops of dish soap mixed in will kill ants, flies, gnats, and most small soft-bodied insects on contact. You spray it directly on them, they stop. That's it. For mosquitoes that have gotten inside, the ones that buzz near standing water, near a pet bowl, near a vase of flowers, a shallow dish of water with a few drops of soap mixed in will trap them. Mosquitoes look for standing water to land on and lay eggs. They can land on plain water because of the surface tension. Dish soap breaks that tension. The mosquito touches the water, can't stay up, and sinks. It sounds too simple to work. It works. For flies specifically, the combination is dish soap and vinegar. You get the attraction of the vinegar and the trapping power of the soap together in the same jar. That's why the fruit fly trap from number 5 works as well as it does. The soap is doing the actual killing. The vinegar is the bait. Don't complicate it. A few drops in a spray bottle of water is enough. If you're spraying it on bugs directly, you don't need bubbles. You just need enough soap to break down what's protecting their skin. Number 2, baking soda. This one operates differently from everything else on the list, and I want to explain why before I tell you how to use it, because the how makes no sense unless you understand what it's actually doing. Baking soda on its own, sitting out on the counter, does nothing to a bug. An ant will walk right through it. A cockroach won't give it a second look. The issue is that bugs won't eat something that smells strange and unfamiliar. They're suspicious, so you have to trick them. Mix baking soda with powdered sugar in equal parts. That's all. The sugar is the bait, it's what brings them in. The baking soda is the problem they take home. When an insect eats it and then drinks any amount of water, there's a reaction inside them that builds pressure. For small insects, that's fatal. And because ants carry food back to the colony to share, you're not just affecting the one ant that came to your kitchen, you're sending the problem back to the source. Put a small amount in a bottle cap or a jar lid. Set it where you've seen ant trails along the baseboard, near the corner behind the trash can, under the lip of the cabinet. Don't put it on your food prep surfaces. Just tuck it somewhere out of the way where the bugs travel. It takes a couple of days. That's the part people give up on. They set it out, check it the next morning, still see ants, and conclude it didn't work. Give it 3 days. The bait has to make it back to the nest. Once it does, you'll notice the trails thin out. This is the same basic logic as those gel ant baits you buy at the hardware store that cost $8. Baking soda and powdered sugar costs you next to nothing. The principle is identical. Number 1, diatomaceous earth. This is the one I save for last because it's the most powerful thing on this list, and if you don't have it in your kitchen yet, it's worth picking up. You can find it at most farm supply stores or feed stores, and some grocery stores carry it. Get food grade. That matters. The kind sold for pool filters is processed differently, and it's not what you want in your home. What is it exactly? It's the ground-up fossils of tiny, ancient water creatures so small you've never seen one, that lived in old lakes and oceans millions of years ago. When they died, their shells settled and turned to rock, and that rock ground down over time into what looks like a fine white powder. Feels like talc in your hand. To a crawling insect, it is nothing like talc. Those shells have microscopic sharp edges, and when a bug walks through this powder, those edges get into every joint and soft part of the insect's outer layer. It cuts. And then the powder absorbs the moisture it finds there. The bug doesn't drown. It dries out from the outside in, and it can't survive that. What makes this different from everything else on the list is that it keeps working as long as it stays dry. You dust a thin line of it along your baseboards, in the gap under the stove, along the threshold of the door, in the corner behind the trash can, and it sits there. Any ant, cockroach, silverfish, earwig, or beetle that walks through it in the next 6 months is in trouble. It doesn't wear off. It doesn't evaporate. As long as water doesn't get in and wet it down, it's doing its job. One caution: don't breathe it in. Not because it's toxic, it's not, but because any fine powder, breathed in quantity, is just not good for your lungs. Lay it down when the windows are open, don't create clouds of it, and you're fine. Pets walking through it is not a problem. A child touching it is not a problem. Just don't inhale the dust directly. Dust it thin. A visible pile is actually less effective than a light coating because if there's a thick pile, a bug will find its way around it. What you want is a fine layer, like a dusting of powdered sugar on a cake, light enough that they walk through it without knowing, heavy enough that it gets on them. Now, you've got these 7 things. You probably own most of them right now, and you paid a fraction of what a summer's worth of sprays, traps, and plug-in devices would cost you. Here's the thing I want you to hold on to. The reason most of this knowledge never gets volunteered to you is because there's no way to sell it to you. Vinegar is $1. Baking soda is $1. Bay leaves you already bought for soup. There's no margin in any of it. No one profits from you knowing that a jar of apple cider vinegar and dish soap handles your fruit flies for the next 3 months. The pest control shelf at the grocery store profits when you don't know that. So you were never told. You know now. So here's what I want you to do this week. Take a look at where your bugs are actually coming from. Where's the ant trail? Where are the fruit flies hovering? Pull out the flour and check what's in it. Then match the problem to the tool. Bay leaves and cinnamon for prevention, vinegar and dish soap for trapping and trail breaking, salt for soft-bodied intruders. Baking soda for the colony you can't see. Diatomaceous earth for the long game. That's the whole system. You own it. It cost you almost nothing. Tell me in the comments, which bug is giving you the most grief this summer? Ants, fruit flies, pantry beetles, something else entirely? Tell me what you're dealing with and where in the country you are. I read those, and sometimes the problem is very specific to where you live, so if there's something I should cover in a separate video, that's how I find out about it. I'll see you in the next one.